Thank you, Sonali. Hello, everybody. How's everyone doing today? Yay. Yeah, the sun's out. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. You guys are sitting down, just chilling out. And hopefully enjoying the show. Well, today we have a lot of really great information to share with everybody here. We have a bunch of industry experts joining us today. Today we are going to be talking about how to maximize your project from a financial standpoint. So leveraging your project, knowing what to build for the best return, and that whole financial aspect of it. So I'm just going to introduce today's esteemed panel. So starting on my far left is Bobby Purba with, sorry, Bobby, just by Design Construction. And then we have Cheri Stefanucci with Abstract Homes, and then Kelly Hewat with My House Design and Build. So we are going to dive right into the content. So we're going to be talking, like I mentioned, about how to leverage your property the most, especially in the context of a renovation and or a new home build. Just by a show of hands, who here is thinking about doing a renovation? Renovation. Okay, great. And then what about a new home build? Show of hands. And who's kind of like undecided, just kind of dreaming? Okay, perfect. Well, everybody's on the right spot here. We're going to be talking about all of the above and how to make really smart decisions for your project. So let's just jump right in. So let's first talk about taking a look at your property and or in the case of renovating, perhaps even your current home. How does a homeowner take a look at the project from a holistic standpoint and decide what the best thing to do with their property or existing home in a reno? How does someone go about doing that?
Well, I'll jump in. I think a lot of times what you really have to do is look at the length of time you plan on staying in that property, because that really determines just really what you want to do and what your plans are. If you're going to be there for a really long time, then you can do a lot more and you'll still gain from the price of the renovations or the changes that you're going to make.
Yeah, absolutely, Cheri. And you're also considering usability. So if your intention is to stay and invest more, then we can improve usability in terms of form and function of the home, hallway widths, aging in place, wider entries for wheelchairs or walkers and such.
Yeah, looking at your home and property, and do you love the area? Is it a home that you plan to stay in for a number of years? Is it a home that you're going to bring your parents or your children with grandchildren into? Or is this perhaps a home that this is an interim property that you're looking at? Also will help guide your decision as to who you might want to work with and start that conversation. So,
yeah, I think one more thing I'd like to add when we talk about aging in place is it's interesting. A lot of people will do the widening up the doors and different things like that. Look at the bathroom, the grab bars and such. But sometimes you also have to look at the functioning of the kitchen, because some of the kitchens, you could not have someone in a wheelchair, for instance, because you have to have a turning radius. So there's other things that need to be considered when you are doing aging in place, just not because it's going to happen, but because maybe it's just a good idea in the design. If you're in it already, you might as well make it all the way.
Great. Yeah, and really, really great tips and points. And definitely just looking at your existing space design-wise, lots of different considerations. Now, sometimes the considerations that we need to make aren't really up to us, unfortunately. There is a huge list of bylaws and building code and all these other considerations that, you know, from a homeowner's perspective can get very confusing. I mean, even sometimes being in industry is confusing because it's so complicated and there's so many of them. So let's maybe shift the conversation, and I would love to hear some thoughts about, you know, as a homeowner, what types of bylaw things or, you know, like building code considerations should a homeowner be thinking about when it comes to maximizing their project?
I'll start if that's all right. So speaking with here in the city of Vancouver, we have a charter from the province that allows us to have our own building code. So from that perspective, there's a number of things to be considered which are really great. The Vancouver is a leader in the industry. So first of all, looking at aging in place. So for new homes and for many very extensive major renovations, they want to see a fully accessible bathroom on the main floor. They want to see certain widths in terms of doorways, bedroom on the main floor for access as well. So if you and your family are moving into a home or building a home, looking at being able to reside in that home long term. We're also seeing alternatives to that as well, where people maybe want to have upper floor bedroom living and main floor open concept, and they find that the building code requirements are a bit prohibitive for what they want to do with the size of the lot or the size of the property. So we can also look at things like elevator access, lift access, ramps to the main floor for the exterior of the house. So I can't really speak to every bylaw and building code piece in the city of Vancouver because they're all very unique. And sometimes it depends on what might be existing with regards to a home on that property, that maybe there's something that can be grandfathered in that should you tear down a home and build something new, that you would lose as a result of that. So really looking at the existing conditions and the bylaws and what the property has to offer, as well as those zoning requirements, are really, really important to work with somebody who can understand all of those things and help guide you towards all the options and really exploring that.
No, that's absolutely bang on. So I would consider, from a team building perspective, who's going to have this knowledge. So you want to start talking to a Kathy, you want to start talking to renovators like us who have the contacts to give you context of what's possible on your property. So you don't need to all be zoning experts. By far, I'm not. I rely on team members like Kathy and folks I work with on a regular basis to advise me and our clients on what's the best direction for the home, existing conditions. Because as mentioned, there's things that can be grandfathered in. There's electrification codes that are in Vancouver that they're driving towards more green homes. So, there's allowances of square footages, for example, as well. So I think getting with the experts early on in the conversation is in your advantage versus getting late into the conversation and having a view or a vision of, I'd love to be here. And then suddenly you're like, oh, disappointed, I can't do X, Y, and Z. So I would start the other way around. Hire somebody early, pay for some consulting hours at a minimum, and then go from there.
Yeah, you make a really good point because, a lot of people will go by, oh, well, my neighbor down the street was able to do X, Y, Z. And so you think, well, my lot looks the same. I think I should be able to do that too. But actually, you may find out that actually, no, you can't for whatever reason. And there's many different reasons with City Hall, as we all know. So it is really best to get in and consult with someone early before you get too far into your dreams and then have them dashed. Really important.
Yeah, one thing I just want to also add, I just noticed there's a lot of people that put their hands up regarding a renovation for your property. So in the city of Vancouver specifically and other municipalities, if you just do decide to do a renovation and or addition, you might qualify to actually have more square footage on your property. So again, make sure you're talking to a team of experts early on just to run a proper zoning review to see, okay, well, is this still the best option for, is a renovation the best option? Maybe you want to do an addition so you can maximize your square footage, or maybe a new build. There's no, like Cheri was saying, there's no one size fits all answer. It's really just about talking to experts around the table. All right, so speaking about money, let's shift gears and talk about funding. So there's lots of different ways to fund your project, obviously, and that's obviously an important question to answer. So how do you fund a project? Let's talk about that. So is it like equity? Do you do it with like grants? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, gosh, I think all of the above, really. I think, that there's lots of funding out there right now. I think that I read that the funding for new home builds is now finished. All the funds have been used up for that, but there's still a lot of funding for renovations. So, and there's both city, provincial, and Canadian. So there's a fair bit of money up there. So before you decide on your project, I would say, well, geez, what are the things I have to do to get all the grants, right? Because you'll probably do most of those things anyways. So grants are huge. And then I'll let the others speak on the other ones because I don't want to take it all.
Yeah, so there's a lot of, as you mentioned, federal and provincial money available for things like windows and doors for your mechanical systems. Insulation is a big one as well. Now, I'm not going to lie, you're not going to get rich off the grants, but however, the rebates available to you will allow you to take a step up, perhaps from what you had planned on doing. So if you thought, I would like to have energy efficient windows that meet minimum building code, whether it be for Vancouver or another area, that's great. The grants are available perhaps in many cases for a window that is a tier up, a little bit better than what the other one was. So you're going to spend more to meet their requirements for windows or mechanical or whatever that may be. However, those grants and rebates available to you will pay for the difference quite often. Keep in mind as well, when it comes to a lot of the rebates and the government programs, prerequisite is that you have a energy audit done on your home. So that's really important to have done. And there's certain dates that are where things expire, and you have to have installation dates and purchase dates of windows and doors and certain criteria with regards to a model of a furnace or a heat pump, an HRV. So working with somebody who understands what the criteria is to help you meet the requirements to get those rebates is really, really important.
So I'll touch on it another way is hidden money. We know Vancouver, two ways to look at it. Is this a new low in Vancouver? I always think there's always a new high in Vancouver. I always look at it, there's always a new low price in Vancouver of land value or home values because we keep going up and then we come down a bit, we dip. So think about it from your land appreciation year over year or 10 years. There's so much money locked in your land value, let alone your home value. So I'm going to go to the word equity, right? So any reading you do past from here or corner us later, there's a lot of home equity that's available at, fairly affordable rates. So whether it's a laneway home you want to build or a major renovation, let's consider value you can pull out from the existing property or properties to leverage that. So leverage is another really important factor. We're looking at renovating, aging in place, or building laneway homes for the kids for the worst and coming home. So I think talking to the banker is really important. The financial conversation is often, in our experience anyways, overlooked. We've got this beautiful home designed or a laneway or a reno, and we haven't talked about finance, right? The F word, right? I think that's a typical conversation families have that they avoid because it's a touchy point, whether it's an inheritance or whatever the structure is. Kids want to live on the same property as mom and dad. But let's have that conversation, right? Then you're already setting the project up for success, leveraging grants, equity in the home, and talking to your banker and, of course, your professionals that you trust.
Yeah, sorry, Kelly. I think another way, too, is to look at retirement funding. If, say, you don't have family that want to be on the same property as you, laneways are a great source of income if you're interested in having somebody come in on your property. In Vancouver, I know they're fetching a really good coin, and I'll throw out a dollar figure for you because it's pretty incredible. They're bringing in around $3,200 a month these days. That's pretty good. So, it's not even about just having family in it, but it could be a retirement fund for you.
So that's an 11-year paid out or 10 years on a 25-year mortgage. And that's, how do you make $500,000 on a, anyways, you double your money in very quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the financial piece of the puzzle is also a big conversation. Like many of you here are here to look at different design build firms or perhaps just a designer or an architect or a developer or what that might be. But the financial part of the project, I would recommend talking to a number of individuals as well. So whether it be, everyone has a relationship with somebody with regards to finances, whether it be their bank, whether it be their lawyer, whether it be their tax person or their accountant or whoever that might be. Have the conversation with a number of different people and gather that information. Because a lot of people think, well, I've got this money, it's an inheritance, I'm going to invest this money, but they forget about looking at, okay, well, what is the long-term investment in return on rental property, such as a basement suite, or I love the idea of the laneway homes are becoming more and more common here in Vancouver and other areas as well. So looking at the big picture, not just, okay, what will my monthly payment be on this mortgage, but all the other pieces of the puzzle as well. So I'm not sure what direction you guys recommend heading in, but we often partner our clients with a mortgage broker who can look at what is available in the industry, what is the big picture available, and work with our clients. Because when myself, I have a great reputation, and my bank does, with the people that I work with, but I know a broker knows everything available in the industry. My bank only has what's in their sales kit or their toolkit to offer me. That may or may not be the best thing. So worst case scenario, talking with a professional who knows more about what's available industry-wide is a really great thing. And worst case scenario, you take that to your bank and say, hey, I think this is really good for me. Do you think you could do this for me as well? So that opens their eyes to other opportunity in the market and for you to continue your relationship with them.
Yeah, so we talked about a lot of really great tips for the audience today. So hopefully that was all very helpful. So sitting here today as a homeowner, there's obviously so many different pieces of information that everybody needs to be aware of and different people to talk to. So as a very first step, walking out of today's presentation, what would be the next steps for a homeowner to start their projects?
Have the conversation at home, right? Who are the players? Who are the people holding the purse strings? Talk about timelines, talk about budgeting, talk about property use, and then involve the professionals. So get to the banker, get to your tax advisor, because there's inheritance, there's retirement planning. Put the picture together to storyboard it, right? Have a brainstorm, and then put actionable items out. Maybe it's 3 months out, maybe it's 6 months or it's 9 months, but at least there's some kind of an executable plan that you have a vision of how this family is going to move forward versus the unknown.
Yeah, I think really sourcing, exactly what you're saying, Bobby, is really get together with the decision makers, whether it be your partner or there's more family that are going to be involved, and you bring them all in and really start the dreaming once you know what you can get a hold of and what fits your life plan.
I really love that. So I work for a design and build firm, and people come say, I want to renovate or I want to build a new home. And what I would love for all of our clients to do ahead of time is do exactly what you guys just talked about. Before you have us in, come together as a family, all the players, who's got the purse strings, who's coming in, with limited more ideas or investment, and all of you have a conversation together. Put together your wish list. Put together, you may say between all of you, I don't know what our budget is. I don't know how much this is going to cost us. But having that storyboard, I'm going to steal that from you, by the way, having that storyboard put together and then calling in and starting the conversation with the professionals would be really helpful for us. To guide you towards meeting your goals, whether that be in terms of property development, whether it be wish list, whether it be budget, whatever it is. And if there's any corrections to your storyboard that we need to have a conversation about, then we can offer you that information and you can revise your plan together accordingly.
Love it. I love all those tips too, because it's very actionable. Like, I feel like everybody can walk out of here today and start doing that. And the storyboard, I might have to steal that term too.
Or learn my words.
Okay.
Borrowed as well.
That's great. All right. Well, thank you again. At this point in time, we're going to turn the focus over to you lovely homeowners and open up the floor for questions. So does anybody have any questions for our panel? We just have a question over here. Sonali's just going to help us with the mic. Thanks, Sonali.
Hi, I'm curious about where would you get funding or grants to adapt your home for seniors?
So I'll just repeat the question. The question was, please correct me if I'm wrong, where and how do you access funding to retrofit your home for seniors?
There's a fair bit of information at a couple of sites on the website. If you have a cell phone, come and take a picture of the site. But one of them is called homestep.ca. and it gives you a lot of the grant information in there. As far as seniors, I don't know of anything out there that would be specific to seniors.
I'm more concerned about, like, for instance, adapting staircases, of updating bathrooms. And I'm speaking workforce, my elderly parents still live with me. And so just try to figure out those steps prior to the end of sending drawing.
Right.
Or like geared towards accessibility, right? Okay. Any other input there? Right.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds to me like you would want to get a designer or a construction company to kind of come in and see what the needs are, find out the full needs, because each person has, there are a lot of similar needs, but then there are some that are very individual. So you'd want to kind of talk into that and maybe help make some decisions that way. And, there are some things that maybe aren't practical in the house, depending on the design of your existing home. So I think really it would probably be a designer or a construction firm that would come in and kind of help you. And, we do have a lot of resources at Haven, the Home Builders Association of Vancouver, where, there are suppliers that we have, and we've got a lot of professionals to pull from. So if we don't know the answer, we can get the answer for you.
Thank you. Great question, though. And that actually brings up a great point, is just considering accessibility needs in design. A lot of that is already built into the building code for Vancouver, BBBL, but just in general, it's always good to think about that as you renovate. Are there any other questions? We are just really thorough. All right, great. Well, I just would like to give a shout out to the panel once again, and these lovely professionals all have booths within this exhibit area, so feel free to go and speak with any of them. Bobby, Cheri, Kelly, thank you so much again for everything.
Thank you, Kathy.
Next up, just wanted to point out a few things. Sonali is holding in her hands a contact book for Haven members. So Haven stands for Home Builders Association Vancouver. This is a great starting point for your project. It lists all the members of Haven, so professional builders, designers, consultants, anybody that you would need that is reputable for your project. Another great resource, which is also in those really cute canvas tote bags that everybody would have gotten walking in, is this little flyer for the Haven podcast. It's called Measure Twice, Cut Once. And we actually just launched season 5, which is really, really great. There's been over 12,000 downloads, so a great free resource for homeowners. And last but not least, just a friendly reminder, we have a great Enter to Win contest out there for a Cuisinart food processor, compliments of Trail appliances. So make sure you put your name in the draw and you might be walking home with a food processor. Well, and again, on behalf of the panel, thank you so much again for joining us today. We hope this brings you just one step closer to a very successful project. Enjoy the rest of the show and enjoy your weekend.